So, I have been gone for a long time. I know, 4 months is a little crazy, but my year's been a bit crazy. I haven't had time to do anything. Though, my time has not been ill spent. My big news of the week, as you've seen, I dropped a single! Yay! This is quite a big milestone for me. I finally put out some of my music on all of your favorite storefronts, which you should check now. Actually, no. Finish watching the video first, then go check. It's in the comments and the description and my website and all of my other social medias, which you should also follow so you can keep up to date with what I'm doing with my life art. So my new song is called Sympathy. It's kind of this synthwave, synth pop, dance electronic thing. It's very, very heavy on the percussion, a lot of synths, a lot of drive, even though the track itself is actually not that fast, but it kind of feels fast, you know? There's a lot of stacked layers going on. This thing I've been making since November of 2025. I don't even want to count how many months this thing has been sat on my computer now. I mean, it was kind of challenging getting everything together, which I think just is what took so much time. And then I just didn't have time to, you know, record all of the stuff. Even though there's not that much, it takes a lot of time. But it's very driven by the percussion that's kind of persistent throughout. This kind of keeps this driving feel to it. But anyway, let's have a look at what drove me insane for a while. Right, so first things first, as you can see, everything here is color-coded. Anything in red is percussion. Anything in blue is everything else. So, let's start with the red section. We start off pretty simply with a kick. It's just your standard kick with a bit more bass and a bit more punch to it, just because that's what these kind of dance tracks need. Yes, next we have 4 sets of hi-hats. So we have 2 closed, which together sound like this. So the second hi-hat is very much your traditional sort of hi-hat. There's not much going on, it's just got a compressor. But the other hi-hat, there's not much going on, there's just a compressor. But the other closed hi-hat is where the interesting stuff happens. So the first hi-hat has this pattern. That sort of pattern sort of is persistent throughout the piece. That towards the end of the bar, it just has that da-da-da-da sort of contrast flourish. And to me, that sort of keeps that drive going in the song. So it's not just all of the same thing repeated, even though that's essentially what the song is. And this flourish in particular has basically all of its high end tapered off. And then next we have our open hi-hats. Open hi-hats. They sound like this. That's it. There's much more going on here, which you would more typically see with a closed hi-hat. But I kind of like the open sound that the open hi-hats were giving, and I thought it just helped pad out the sound a bit better. And it just has this little at the end. Yeah, these two are much the same, just high ends tapered off. I think because I didn't want it to sound super like sharp and aggressive, I sort of liked that not squished soundscape, but somewhat reduced, to sort of give it an old-timey sound, I guess. Like maybe like as if you were listening to it on like a tape deck or something like that. I could just be talking out my ass. I could have just mixed this terribly and I'm making excuses. But all that together so far, quite a nice sound. Now we got on to the other percussion. First clap. So the claps are very squished into the high mids with a lot of reverb. I kind of liked the big tail that the reverb gave it. It kind of helped keep its persistence throughout the track, so it wasn't just a dry, because that's boring. And then we have 2 percussions, which together sound like this. Oh, mamma mia. So this first perk is sort of almost trying to offset the beat a bit. So if I play it with a metronome, You know, it's got that duh, 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 which paired with its hefty amount of delay sort of, again, keeps that persistence throughout the track, which I quite like. Again, as with a lot of the high-end instruments here, it's tapered off at the top. And then with the second set of percussion, you might notice that pattern that we were talking about with the hi-hats earlier. That. It's got some delay on it, quite heavily. And the high end is... I need to find more ways to say that there's no high end. And we have this little shaker, which isn't there for too much. It's more of like a little embellishment, a bit of decoration, I guess. And it gives that little... which you can hear right at the beginning of the track. And then the last thing for the percussion... standard riser. Within the element of the riser, the high end has been removed. Put all that percussion together though, we get this. As you can see, that serves as like an integral part of the song. It's driving it along and provides most of the backbone, I'd say, is in the percussion, is in that beat. Not so much the synths. So I spent a lot of time tuning that to be just right. But now it's time to move to the blue.
Heavy, switch to blue.
First of all, beeps. So these, I guess, are also quite percussive because they're quite sharp and they're on beat. So all this is a little square wave with very little decay and no sustain at all, so it's just a ping. It's got a little bit of delay, and that's it. Now for the big synth chords. Do not be fooled by what the notes say. All of this is pitch shifted down. Oh god, why do I make these things way harder for myself? I could have just moved the notes down, but nope, I had to just turn the pitch slider down. So with these chords, a lot of what's happening, because it is just those repeating chords on that da 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 da. A lot of what's happening is in the automation. So we have here a filter on the go, which is a low pass with a decent amount of resonance on that's sort of sweeping in and out. You know, we have this filter that tapers down, comes back, and tapers down again to almost create the idea, I guess, of waves as it's progressing through each bar, or each section of bars even. But that on its own sounds boring, so we have effects. So let's try and speed through these as fast as physically possible. Delay, phaser, EQ, compressor. The main one that's taking a lot of the focus, I guess, would be the phaser, which is being affected by that automation, which is giving it that sort of ow noise to it. I believe later on in the song it gets filtered. As you can see, there's that love filter which gets turned on. That's kind of it for the chords. Now my favorite synth of the whole song, I call it the mouse synth. Got that kind of mow noise to it without any effects. But I added some compression and a bit of lo-fi bit crushing to give it much more of a bit more of a scratchy tone to it. All it really is a sawtooth wave with a filter envelope on it to open up and close with a bit of resonance as well, so it gives that wow noise to it. And all it's really doing is arpeggiating on this little idea. But it's not doing this by itself. There's another mouse synth. All it's doing, I've literally called it ascend, because all it's doing is ascending up a scale. The DNA of this synth is exactly the same as the first one, with just not very many effects. This one has the low end cut off. Also, it's got some freaky panning going on. And then the next synth I called the beeper. So what this is, we go back to our good old friend Flex. This is a DX9 synth bass. In a way, I've kind of done a weird not delay on this. It's essentially just an arpeggiator, but I'm volume affecting it. So it tapers off like it was delay, but not quite. I guess maybe so it didn't have so much of a tail overlapping each other when the new notes are played. Very similar, in fact, to the chord beeper from before. No sustain, no release, just very short delay to give that sort of sound. And then something that comes in during the chorus is these little arpeggiated chords. We go back to Flex. It's just a standard piano. There's some reverb, heightened mids, and a compressor. And there's also a filter that gets applied to it when the song finishes. And then there is one final melodic idea in this track, which comes in sort of at the bridge break bit. This little guy. This was to add a bit of extra intrigue to the end and to the middle, so it's not just the exact same thing as before. But I wanted it to be subtle and not take like the main stage. It's just a bit more padding, I guess. More bulk to the stack. And it has some panning just to sort of to go along with that section where it's a bit more removed. So then, let's put all the melody stuff together without the percussion first time. And then, let's add the percussion. Hell yeah! And of course it's me. There's weather noises throughout this. I don't know what it is, I just like nature noise. It's in everything I do, I don't know why, don't ask. So now, we move on to the final stages of this track. I tried something different when it came to recording the vocals this time. I took a mix of all of the instruments that I liked and bounced it in as an instrumental. And then I just recorded the vocals over the top. And you'll notice here that a lot of these tracks say Moonbeams. That was the sort of project title I had for this because I didn't know what the lyrics were. The track starts with this little sort of radio-esque intro. I literally recorded this with my gaming headset.
Don't worry, we'll be back to the tunes just briefly after we look at tonight's weather.
Again, I like this idea of thinking it was like someone in their car or on a flight, or whatever. I mean, you can't use a radio on a flight, but as the track itself comes in, you can hear the radio sort of taper off and the actual track taper in.
Perfect for that late track.
I tried to get it as seamless as possible. Now, something that you'll notice here, there is two vocal lines here. They are two different takes that I have put over the top of each other, and they are panned slightly differently. I quite like stacking my vocals. I think it gives off a really fun effect. And what it sounds like on its own is this.
I don't want your sympathy, I hope you know.
I mean, it has a very strange EQ on it, I'd say. But a lot of trial and error. That, I think, sounded the best. And just some reverb to give it some padded space. The harder thing to record was this stacked chord in the chorus.
These nights are alone.
So all of these different recordings are different lines from the chords. So there's 4 notes per chord. And then the final thing vocally is the sort of bridge, which is very sort of contrasting.
I thought you'd be sick of me.
It's not as loud and present. It's still double tracked, but it's I didn't want it to be like super. It's almost like taking a step back, this whole section. And you know, I've taken some of the fidelity out a bit. You know, there's some lo-fi bit crushing going on. It's very squished. There's some reverb, so it sounds a bit more far removed. Yeah, I'd say this track isn't so driven by the vocals. It's mainly more that driving percussion. I thought that came off better than I thought it would. I'm very happy with how that turned out. But yeah, that's what I've spent the past few months doing. I am hugely happy with how this came out, and I'm very happy to see it go up on storefronts all around you, which you should check out now that you've watched this video. Go check it out on whatever streaming platform you prefer to use. It's on Spotify, it's on Apple Music, it's on Amazon Music, Tidal, TikTok? Yeah, the gist. It's on pretty much anything you could want it to be. But yeah, I am very, very, very happy with how this turned out, and I cannot wait to see people's reactions to it. I wanted to make something sort of dancey, but still very much to my style, and I hope you did too. I hope you enjoyed this video. There is plenty more videos where I do this kind of thing, where I break down my beats. You'll never guess what it's called. Yeah, and as well, thank you again for everyone who has been supporting the channel and my various other social medias, which you should check out, please. We are just around the corner from 100 subscribers, my first big milestone, and I'm very happy with how things are going, and I'm very happy as well to see people engaging and enjoying my content. The best thing that you can do for small creators like myself is hit that subscribe, put a comment down below, and share it with everyone you know. I want to try and do some more casual videos, but if you want to keep in tune with my life, go follow me on Instagram, on TikTok, on Blue Sky, Twitch. I think that's all the Reddit! But anyway, I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, subscribe, and if you didn't, boo-hoo. Now what do I do for an outro? Subscribe and like and comment and share. That's it, that's the whole outro.